ID. ID. ID.
Welcome back, Pod Deep on Sports. This is episode number 10. This is the UFC 293 reaction. You got me, myself, Hughes. You got Jay. This is our reaction to Izzy. So I'm going to kick this off with you, Jay. What's your thoughts on Izzy? You think he done?
No, I don't. I think that night I saw that fight, I felt like he was done. And then I watched Dana White in the press conference, and then it kind of changed my mind. He said after the fight, Izzy, he asked Izzy, "Are you okay?" Izzy said, "Yeah, I'll talk to you later." So to me, that means that Izzy is hurt or he was sick for him to say that. He's a stand-up person, from what I know from watching the fights. I don't know him personally, but I think if he was just got beat fair and square, he would have just took it on the chin and said it, yeah, you beat me, that's it. But for him to say, "I'll talk to you later," tells me something is going on with him. Like he had a prior injury that just, prevented him from showing out, winning that fight. So no, I don't think he's done, to answer your question.
Okay. You think he can come back, though? Do you think he can come back to the top?
He has to win his next fight. They're talking about running that fight back.
Mm-hmm.
If he wins in the rematch, of course, he's back on top. But if he loses that rematch, I think it's going to be a tough, hard road for him, because he'll have to fight his way back up to the top. He won't, be automatically in line for another title shot if he loses this rematch. So he has to win this rematch.
So how do you see Izzy? Like, do you see Izzy as an all-time great, like a guy who can fight in any era? I mean, because he is in his prime and he has lost 2 fights so far. But,
3. This is his third loss. I just looked it up. That's his third loss.
It's his third loss, but in the UFC terms, it's only his second loss. But I think overall MMA, it's his third. Has he lost 3
That's
times
right.
in MMA?
3 times in the UFC he lost.
Okay.
He fought for the 205-pound title, light heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
He lost that fight. He was fighting a much bigger guy than him. He almost won that fight. He lost that fight by like a half a round or a round. So he almost won that fight. And he lost to Pereira. He got knocked out to Pereira in the UFC. And then he just lost this 5-round decision in UFC 293. So that's 3 losses. What was the original question? I'm sorry, man.
No, I was asking like in his prime, but I thought it was 2 losses. Correct, there's 3 losses. In his prime, do you still consider him like an all-time great?
Yeah, I have him as a middleweight. As a middleweight, I have him ahead of the great Anderson Silva. So
whoa!
Yeah, he's fought tougher competition, man. The guys he has beaten have been tougher than the guys Anderson beat. That was my whole thing with Anderson. He was beating guys who were just not on his level, or guys who were like 1 foot out the door, where he just demolished them and they just never did anything else. Everybody he beat, off the top of my head, never really had another great run. You know what I'm saying? They never like bounce back. So when that happens, that kind of tells me you either beat the fight out of somebody or they kind of really didn't have it in them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see that. But Anderson's great though.
Anderson is great, but I have Israel ahead of Anderson.
So when you say ahead, let me ask you this: in the matchup, who do you think in their prime win?
In their prime? That's a tough fight. In their prime, Silva versus Israel. I would bet on Silva. I would bet Silva. In the prime, Silva was known for playing around. He'll be like joking around and end up getting clipped. If he's serious, trying to win, not playing around, I would pick Silva over Israel in both their primes. But the thing is, it's just the competition that Silva faced versus who Izzy went through. I just see Israel's road being tougher. So, not too far ahead of Silva, just slightly in my book.
Oh wow. See, I didn't think Israel Road was tougher than Silver. Like to me, when I saw Silver being thrown in there with Rich Franklin, I didn't think that was a fight for. I thought that was a showcasing for Rich Franklin because I hadn't seen Anderson Silva fight prior to that. So I thought it was a showcasing for Rich Franklin to do his thing. You know what I'm saying? But lo and behold, Anderson Silva wore him out, beat him up in the first fight and in the rematch single handedly. Beat
I think
Dan
he
Henderson.
broke his nose like in the second fight, like demolished him in the second fight.
Pretty much ended his career.
Yeah, true.
Pretty much ended his career. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the point you're making. Like a lot of the guys who Anderson beat never came back.
Right.
You know what I'm
They
saying? I don't
never
know.
had a run. They never went up in weight, down in weight. They never really challenged.
Like Dan Henderson had some years on him before he got in there with Anderson. But I think Dana White thought he had the style. Like when I think about Izzy opponents that he's beat, I can't think of too many guys that had a run after him that he beat either.
There's nobody.
Yeah, it's like
Alex Pereira moved up in weight. He just won his last fight. He might be at the beginning of a run at 205. But
yeah, he is.
He's not really a middleweight or 185 pounder anyway. So it's kind of a flip flop up in the air.
Yeah, because the only person I could think that Silva beat that kind of still went on to do something could be Chael Saunders.
Chael, what's his last name?
Is it Sonnen? Chael Sonnen?
Chael Sonnen, yeah.
He's the only one that I can think that still made noise, but I don't know if that's because he was being a broadcaster, you know what I'm saying? And kept his face and his name out there,
Yeah, I think it was more people, his personality, him selling himself than his actual competitive competitive skills. I think it was more just the fans liked him. He was one of the first ones to talk shit. He was before Conor McGregor, selling the fights, talking shit, getting everybody excited, talking about the crowd. So I think it was more the fans kind of wanted him to win.
And he was on the verge of giving Anderson his first L in the UFC.
He had him beat. He dominated that fight when they fought up until like the last minute or so.
He did. So when I think about their guys, man, it's not a lot of guys that I think Anderson fought that I think Izzy can beat easily. Like I think Dan Henderson will give Izzy a tough run for his money.
Are you saying that based on how Izzy looked last fight, or how he looked
overall? Just overall. Like when I compare their two weaknesses, to me, Spider had issues with wrestlers and he played too much. Like it seemed like he didn't come in with a game plan. He felt you out and he waited for you to make a mistake and then he capitalized off the mistake. Izzy, on the other hand, when I did see him fight Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva is outside of his prime, I was kind of a little shocked that he didn't take it to Anderson Silva. He kind of stayed away from him, you know what I'm saying, and survived. He was letting him know he was quicker, younger, you know what I'm saying, but he didn't take it to him, you know what I'm saying, being that Anderson Silva was a vet and he was, kind of like the young blood,
Yeah, Anderson Silva, at his advanced age, when he fought Israel, still was dangerous. Like if he caught you, he can knock you out. He still can knock you out.
Okay, so I thought I know I wasn't tripping. I was thinking that, but I thought I was in a minority with that, thinking that that's the reason why he stayed away from him. Okay.
Yeah, he's still dangerous. He's, probably still dangerous today.
So do you see Israel running that fight back sometime in the near future, or do you see him giving it like next year?
Well, we talked about this before. The fighters really don't have a say on when they fight. It's up to the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
This is September. The UFC, they have their schedule filled out until like March. So I don't think we see him until like the first quarter, second quarter of next year, which I think is good. I think he should take a break. If something is wrong with him health wise, heal up, get better, rest. He's been on a hell of a run. Rest, recuperate, and come back next year.
You think it's a weight issue?
I don't think it's weight. I think it's something else. It's something physical, like maybe a hand or a leg injury, shoulder. It's something like that that's wrong with him.
Dominated.
He didn't pull the trigger. When fifth round, he needed a knockout to win. He didn't go for a knockout. He just fought the same style, the whole fight. He got dropped in the first round.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So who is this guy? Like, I haven't heard of that guy that beat him. Like, did that guy actually deserve a shot at Izzy, or is just Dana White picking the opponents that he knows Izzy weakness, and this is how I'm gonna defeat you? Did that guy actually deserve a shot at Izzy?
The guy who Izzy was supposed to fight got injured. So this guy more or less was a replacement. The guy he was supposed to fight is Dricus du Plessis. They call him DDP.
Okay.
Been talking a lot of shit. He's from South Africa. He said he's the real African. Israel claims to be from Nigeria, and they've been going back and forth. This guy's a white guy, and he was saying he's the real African. So so this guy who fought him, to answer your question, kind of was like a journeyman replacement type fighter, but he was on a streak. To me, Izzy on paper should have blew him out the water. So I don't know if it was Izzy like overlooking this guy and this guy came in prepared, or like I said, maybe Izzy was just hurt. But either way it goes, Izzy is calling for a rematch. The UFC Dana White already said, he'll probably get that rematch. So they should run it back.
So let me ask you a question then. How do you compare the replacement with the guy with the white South African that Izzy was scheduled to face? Which one of them are bigger?
Skill wise.
Not skill, but size wise. Which one is bigger?
Size wise.
Was the replacement bigger than the original guy?
Yeah. If put it this way, if Izzy would have fought DDP, Dricus du Plessis, if he would have fought him like he fought this other guy, we keep saying other guy, I need to look up his name. If he would have fought him, he probably would have got knocked out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he would have got knocked. This guy, he's a tough fighter. Talks a lot of shit, backs it up. Yeah, he's a tough fighter. He probably would have got hurt, worse.
Okay.
The guy who beat him is Strickland.
Okay. Yeah. So I wonder what they're going to do with Strickland. I wonder if I was him, I wouldn't give Izzy an immediate rematch. I'd throw it in his face. I give me one title defense before I had to fight Izzy again.
That's a smart move.
Huh?
That's smart. That's the smart move. Like, go fight somebody else, get paid at least once before you face.
Because you can negotiate more. He didn't make a lot of money in being the last minute replacement. You could build up the rematch now, you know what I'm saying? And you walk away with something. You give him that immediate rematch, you still on his terms. But if you hold off the immediate rematch and get you a fight and get your first title defense, not only do you build your confidence up, you build their rematch up. Their rematch is now worth big money and top dollar now. And Izzy gets to prepare for you better than he did. He get a full training camp to prepare for you, which may spell trouble for you. But at the end of the day, it's about the paper too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's prize fighting. It's it's business, show business.
Right.
But to your point, when you are a UFC champion, you automatically get a cut of the pay-per-view. So every pay-per-view they sell, you may get $2, $3, $4 off every pay-per-view. Which adds up. I don't think he got pay-per-view points this fight. So to your point, go fight on a pay-per-view on your own and get paid and fight, Izzy next year sometime.
Yeah, I definitely would try to sign that and book me something in between, damn near try to sign that for next September or next June. And in the meantime, you don't have to pay me a whole lot of money. I want that fight just for my confidence, to let the world know I'm a champion. You know, even in my backyard. You know what I'm saying? It don't have to be a top 5 fighter. It could be a top 10 fighter. You know, I'm just trying to sell out the event. You know, as a business move and stuff. You know, I was comparing Izzy preparation for how I saw Spence preparation, and I think the two, what I saw is neither guy made an excuse for their performance. You know what I'm saying? Only difference I saw is that I don't think that Izzy fight was such a huge buildup like Spence and Crawford was. You know what I'm saying? Whereas when, you know, we were waiting for that Spence versus Crawford fight, and it didn't live up to it on Spence end, not Crawford end. Crawford put in the work. You know what I'm saying? But I know fighters have moments where it's just not their day, and I thought Izzy took the high road and not make up a ton of excuses like you do see some fighters make after, you know, taking a beating like he did. You know, 5 rounds of being dominated. You know what I'm saying? He got up, he took that punishment, and I am under the assumption something's off with him. I don't know if it was because he didn't have a full training camp to prepare for him personally, where I didn't know that at first that he switched gears, but that could be the reason, you know, why it was like it was.
Yeah. This is, you make a good point, but this is Sean Strickland, 25-8. So he has a similar record to Izzy. Izzy is like 28-3.
Man,
so, similar record.
That's a very light record to get a title shot.
No, not 11-4. 20. This is just his knockouts. He's overall 20. It's only somewhere 28 and
28-5. Okay.
5. Yeah.
Okay. And how tall is he? Does this give his height?
Let me see if that's on here. Fight history. These are more stats. Head, strike, clinch. These is no, I don't see it. This is more just his fight stats.
Okay.
So Izzy is 24-3. So he actually has more fights than Izzy.
Okay.
Fights. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, I had never heard of him, or to my knowledge, I don't think I've ever seen him fight, you know, other than last couple weeks ago.
Yeah, if DDP wasn't hurt, he wouldn't have got that fight. Now, maybe if DDP would have beat Izzy, then maybe he would have fought DDP.
So do you think DDP will fight Strickland? You think that's the fight they'll push for?
If he's helped, the fight they push for is the rematch. They wait on Izzy because that's the one that'll sell more pay-per-views. They wait on Izzy. But if Izzy won't be ready in time, and DDP will. They match up Strickland and DDP. And then try to come back to Izzy.
Who would you have in that matchup if that was to happen? DDP versus Strickland.
The way Strickland looked, sometimes people just have it's like a growth spurt where they just like turn a corner and they just go on a crazy run. BJ Penn did it. Max Holloway did it. There's a guy, Volkanovski. He's on a crazy run right now. Amanda Nunes. So you never know. We may be at the beginning of a crazy run for Strickland. So you never, if that guy shows up and fights DDP, I think he can beat DDP. But I don't know if Izzy was just not really in the fight. You know, that could make a guy look better than he really is. So they have to run that fight back, you know, for me to be sure. I need to see the real Israel show up and show out. And if he gets beat again, then Strickland is the truth.
You know, you bring up a very interesting point that's different with boxing versus MMA. Some of the MMA veterans come off like fine wine. They get better as they age. You know what I'm saying? Because from what I've watched with MMA, it's very competitive. You know, going to a live event, you know, a boxing event, they're matching, the promoters are bringing in guys not to beat their fighter. So when you're in attendance, you don't know two individuals fighting and they fight on that top billing promotional card. Most of those fights are boring and they're not competitive and they're not equally matched. But when you go to an MMA event and you don't even know these guys, you can't tell what the other guys know, what the other guy know, and the record does not represent the individuals in the ring. You know what I'm saying? You see it with the young guys, you see it with the older guys that took a couple of beatings, a couple of L's, and they come back, take a break, and they rejuvenate their career. That rarely happens in boxing. That
No.
rarely happens in boxing because
Yeah.
the young guys, once they get in the groove, they become the young lions, and they're pretty much damn near they're pretty much damn near unstoppable. But you can put a young guy in there with a veteran in the boxing ring, and he get his ass beat. You know what I'm saying? Because he hasn't been exposed to the different styles and all that kind of stuff. But I rarely see that happen in MMA. I rarely see the young guys get manhandled by some of the veterans like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's usually the other way around.
Right. Right.
When a young guy in MMA fights in the top league fights, the older guy I'm not, it's not the UFC. The UFC and MMA are two different things. But when you see the younger guy, a lot of times fight the vet, a lot of times that young guy has a good chance of winning. Yeah, but you make a good point. If you take 2-3 losses in boxing, you pretty much are done. You're fighting in smaller arenas, theaters. You may be second on the card. You may, be the what do they call it? Like the prelim. What's the last prelim before the main event? A highlighted prelim. It's another
like
word.
the pay-per-view slots or the main card. The main card.
It's right before the pay-per-view main card starts. It's that last undercard fight. They call it something. It's like it's not premium. It maybe it's a word like highlighted. The highlight undercard fight. It's that slot where they put like the guy who used to be on top. He's not good enough to be on the pay-per-view, but they may make him the last fight on the prelims right before the pay-per-view starts.
I'm saying
that's a word they call it.
It's not contender. It's not co-main event. Not co. Nah.
It's the word like premium undercard. I'll look it
prelims. I think it's prelims.
It's prelims, but they call that spot. It's a name for that spot. Comment below if somebody's watching this. Comment below. What is the name of that spot right before the main card starts?
I think I only remember hearing prelims and main card.
Look that up.
Because the prelims, if my memory serves me correctly, prelims start when the arena door opens.
Yeah, that's when they start. Yeah,
but and then if it's a broadcasting fight, they'll say the main card starts let's say 7 o'clock, and then you get to there's a co-main event, then there's a main event, and that may start 10 to 11 depending on what time zone you're in. Yeah, some fights that go to the next day because of the time zone and stuff.
It's called the featured undercard fight. So,
okay.
Yeah, it'll be a guy who in the UFC. I'm not sure how. I'm pretty sure it works like that in boxing. They save like the lesser known guys. They fight, like you said, when the doors first open up. Then the competition kind of moves up, as they move, through the fight card. But in the UFC, they have like a featured prelim where it'll be who used to be a champion or used to be a contender. He'll fight right before the pay-per-view starts. Featured prelim. That's what it's called.
Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting.
I forget how we even started talking about featured prelims, but that's what
because we were just talking about the vets. When you brought that up, that made me really think about what I noticed in mixed martial art artists. Fighters and stuff like that. How with their not like when I think about Randy Couture, Randy Couture going against James Toney. Now, Randy Couture was well out of his prime when he went against James Toney, but you could not put James Toney in that same situation now against maybe you could take Roy Jones that's completely out of his prime and take an MM fighter and put him in the boxing ring. And
yeah,
I think that boxer may win. But my point I was making was that James was younger than Randy Couture, you know, but he didn't have a damn thing coming when it came to mixed martial art. You know what I'm saying?
If they would have stood up and fought, he probably would have won.
I
But
thought that's what he was going to do. I thought that would have been the game plan to, you know, pop the jab and switch his style up, because he's a pure counter puncher.
Yeah.
And Randy wasn't coming to throw no punch. He stood up, went straight for the takedown, and it was over.
Yep, just held him down and beat him that way.
Yeah, he didn't even know how to choke. He didn't even know how to tap out. You know, they could have did my man Tony dirty. You know.
Yeah, that's the game plan for beating Kimbo Slice. A couple guys like stood up and banged with him, but after that, you just take them down and just hold them down, win the fight.
And then they saw that he couldn't really defend leg kicks. They started turning his legs up. Like he was getting ate by mosquito bites or something. They was turning his legs up.
Yeah.
He honestly should have took a full year of training, maybe 2 years of training and sparring different gyms around the country to really build his IQ up. You know what I'm saying? Because he had the name, he had the physique, you know what I'm saying? He had the heart. He just needed, you know, to understand how to do it, how to defend it. Because MMA is a tricky sport. You know what I'm saying? Once somebody puts you in the hole, it's up to you that submission move. It's up to you to figure out how to get out of it. You know, I learned so much just listening to Joe Rogan. You know, my naked eye when I was watching, I'm like, it's over. And Joe Rogan will explain to you how to get out of this submission move that looks like it's impossible to break. And he tell you, you step your right leg over, you put your elbow. He's explaining to you how you get up out of it. I know it's easy said and done, you know what I'm saying? But I never thought that you could, you know, get out of a chokehold. You know what I'm saying? If time does not run out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Joe Rogan, his explanations, he really like broke it down to like the people who really didn't know what was going on when it came to jiu-jitsu in the ground game. Not saying I'm an expert, you know, I've never done it. I've watched a ton of fights over the years, but yeah, he kind of made it more understandable.
Yeah, I forget the other league that I used to watch where Frank Mir was the announcer as well, and he used to do the exact same thing. I think it's that league that Uriah Faber came out of. I don't think it's WEC and I don't think it's Bellator. It's WEC.
It's WEC, yeah.
Yeah, so I used to watch that prior to that's to hold me over to the big UFC events come through. And Frank Mir I thought he was an excellent commentator. He used to do the exact same thing, you know, but only difference was he was a fighter. You know, he would commentate in that league and then come in the UFC and fight. You know what I'm saying? And he win all his fights, but you know, you just tell he had a great IQ, you know.
Yeah, Frank Mir
has
Frank Mir has a ton of losses, but yeah, he was a good commentator.
Yeah. Still is. And to me, that at first I was kind of like, that don't make sense. But the reality is, just because you know what to do and you know how to do everything, that does not mean the person you going up against don't know how to do shit too. You know what I'm saying? Could be stronger, faster, hit harder, all of that shit. I was just listening to him. I'm like, man, I know he gonna win. And I used to just be shocked that he lost. But I'm like, you know, that's life though. You know, just because you know what's about to come, don't mean you can stop it, you know. So let me ask you a question right now with the UFC. Who's hot right now and who's not? Give me your guys and even women right now who you figure from where we are in September to December and even to the next year. Who's hot? Who you got coming up that's hot right now?
Man, I can't even really answer that fully like I used to be able to answer it because I'm not falling out of love with the UFC. The UFC is going through one of those transitions where they have a lot of turnover, a lot of new guys coming in. So I'm not familiar with all of the new guys. But if I had to give an answer who's hot, it's still Izzy is hot. He's still a draw. Conor McGregor is coming back soon. John Jones is fighting in New York in November. I wish I could go see that fight. I hope some things shake. Maybe I can still go see it.
Who is he fighting?
He is fighting the fireman. What's the fireman's name? Let me look it up.
Mhm.
John Jones. I know his name versus guy's name. Stipe Miocic.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's gonna be a great damn fight.
yeah.
Is
That's
that
his.
in Vegas?
It's in New York, Madison Square Garden.
That's in John hometown. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I hope I get. Wished. I'm probably not going.
Okay. Who you think is not hot right now?
Not hot. I can't really think of anybody who's just garbage, who needs to retire, who's not already retired.
Okay.
Everybody who's fighting is still a contender.
Last question then. What's your thoughts on Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury?
I saw the other day Mike Tyson was training him. I don't know if that's good or bad. I found it interesting that he's in with a real boxer getting some training, whatever that training is. I don't know Mike Tyson to be a real trainer, but it was just interesting to see that he was training. It could have been a photo op, could have been for publicity. I don't know. But I give him, to me, man, anybody who steps in the ring, boxing or MMA, you have a chance to win.
That's a fact.
If you're less skilled than the other guy, you're probably going to lose, but you still have a chance. Somebody could slip and you catch them. Somebody could throw a punch, throw out a shoulder, you win a technical knockout because they can't continue. So when you step into that ring, I have the utmost respect for those competitors, men and women, because it takes a lot of heart. You put your life on the line. You may come out of that ring, really damaged for the rest of your life. So, we have to give them the utmost respect. So anybody who steps into the ring, Francis versus Tyson Fury, when the bell rings, it's 50-50. Now, realistically, Tyson Fury should win the fight. He's a real boxer. He should jab the shit out of him, keep him on the outside, either win a decision or knock him out. But if Francis can catch him clean, then Francis can win.
Yeah. I think it all comes down to what Francis know and what he can do against a real boxer and a guy that's that tall and that big.
Yeah.
Has he ever had a fist fight with somebody that's 6'9" before? You know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of foot movement does he have? Does he know how to block a jab, slip a jab? Does he know how to tie up? You know what I'm saying? When I think about Woodley and all the years I saw him around the Mayweather gym, I was really disappointed to where I saw his boxing skills, because I thought that he would been around those boxing gyms and he would be a much better boxer than what Jake Paul did. But the difference is, Jake Paul dedicated himself, and you could tell he put that work in, because he's getting better and better and better, And so it's all about who Francis put himself around with. But you're 100% correct. Everybody got a puncher's chance in a boxing ring. And I give them the utmost respect, whether it's the boxing ring or the cage. You know what I'm saying? I'm never getting my ass in that ring. So, I can't be too critical of them, So I do believe everybody got a puncher's chance. But this fight should be 80-20 in favor of Tyson Fury. I'm happy that Francis made a power play and found him a dancing partner so he can make that money, because I really wanted.
One of the biggest in the game.
He did.
If not the biggest,
He did, and it depends on how he looked. If he goes 12 rounds with Tyson Fury in this competitive, I could see him going right after AJ or Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, he'll keep going. Yeah.
It makes no sense to go back to the UFC unless they will have you and change your contract to give you bigger and better money. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm shocked Conor McGregor never came back, because I would have loved to see him go against Manny Pacquiao for the money. Yeah. I think it would have sold, and I think he could have made him another, $50 to $100 million. You know what I'm saying? Pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? But I think a lot of the MMA guys need to consider that route. I think it'll only help them help their stand-up game. to actually get in there with a box. It'll put more money in their pocket and their account. It'll, you know, introduce them to a different fan base so that when they do get back into, you know, the UFC or the MMA, whichever route they're going to go, they could demand more.
Yeah, I agree. You make yourself more valuable.
Yeah.
When you're a bigger draw, you have to pay me more money.
Mm-hmm.
The UFC likes to lock you down. It's like they don't want you to find out that you're a bigger draw. They will talk bad about you, like Diaz. Is it Nick?
Yeah.
Nick Diaz?
It's Nate. Yep. They fought
Nick,
Jake.
I get the names mixed up. The younger brother is who we're
Nick. That's
talking
Nick.
about. But yeah, they nope, it's Nate. Nick is the older brother.
Oh, okay. I always thought, excuse me.
Always get them mixed up. Yeah. It's like they're the same person. But
right.
yeah, he talked bad about him, talking about how he wasn't a draw and just everything. And he really is a draw. Fans win or lose, the fans love him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And I think boxing is his thing. He just have to pick certain fighters he can get in there with. That's what he likes to do in the UFC. Stand up.
Yeah, he has a training issue, like getting prepared. Also, it's like he's not really taking it seriously.
That's a fact. He definitely didn't. And with a real boxer, they probably would have just attacked him and took him straight out.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
beat his
saying?
ass. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think he should probably rematch Logan Paul. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, go after him or have his brother go after Logan Paul. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's it with this episode, man. You got anything else you wanted to speak on?
That's it. Nice quick pod. We said 10 minutes. It's almost 40.
Right.
Cool pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get your reaction on the UFC 293. Once again, this is episode 10. This is Pod Deep on Sports. Like, follow, share, subscribe, comment, tell a friend. Hey, this is Hughes. That's Jay. We signing out. Pod Deep on Sports. Peace.
ID. ID. ID.